Hi everyone, this is Dumanli from Boğaziçi University. I am deeply sorry that we couldn't meet face to face this year, and for those of you who know me, I would like to say that I really missed you all. Nonetheless, it's nice to finally meet one way or another. And now that we are meeting like this, I thought maybe we should make the most of what we've got here. So I wanted to do something we normally can't do in normal conferences. Hence, I'm sitting here in a garden on our campus, and this is where we have lunch every day, and it's overlooking the lovely Bosphorus here. I'm going to show you in a minute, but it's not why I am here. I came here because I would like to show you something even more spectacular. It happens only for a couple of weeks every year, and the normal deep blue color of the Bosphorus turns into turquoise color, and that's because of an algae called Ameliane Huxley. Now I'm going to show you. Let's see if you will be able to see how turquoise it is. Can you? Yeah, isn't that amazing? It was so impressive to see a tiny creature having such a big impact, isn't it? Well, similar to infectious bacteria in human body. That brings me to my talk, of course, ever so smoothly, that we have been discussing with my team. So let me share my slide with you and start explaining what we have been up to, really. So I'm going to talk about a biodegradable implant antenna. The trouble here is that when you have an operation, after the operation for a month or so, you're going to be under high risk of getting infection. And this time can actually extend if there is an implant located in your body. It might be, you're going to be under the risk over a period of a year, maybe it's going to be for a longer period of time. And that's the reason we thought that it would be a good idea to track if there is infection, a postoperative infection inside. So here's my outline. I'm going to first define the problem for you. So here's how it looks like if you have infection after an operation. And our suggestion would be using a biodegradable implant. By the way, a cat has just arrived. Yeah. Okay. He's not my cat, but he just becomes in the camp. Okay, let's keep going. So we have to think of something biodegradable because it would be just, it wouldn't be that clever to locate something in there and then after you track post-op infection, you have to open the surgery area and then take it out once again. It would be just crazy to do that. So it has to be a biodegradable, fully biodegradable implant. Hence, it has to be passive because you have to, of course, you can't locate a battery inside. And we have decided to create something with magnesium, that's a good biodegradable metal. And we have decided to link bacterial activity with degradation. So up until now in the literature, to the author's knowledge, the biodegradable implants that have been proposed most of the time just do the sensing in their steady state and then degrade. So the transient state is not considered. Here, what we're proposing is to link this transition, the biodegradation, to sensing. Use the biodegradation, the speed of biodegradation for sensing. That's the novel idea here. Okay. So in order to prove this, we have done we have performed two independent experiments. First experiment is to check the biodegradation process and to see the relation between the acidity and the degradation of magnesium. For that, we have used a special type of structure. I'm going to talk about that later on. And then we have also run simulations and done some measurements that, in order to show that we can actually track this degradation using a reader antenna outside the body when that tag is located inside a cow's fat. Okay, so let's first discuss the reader antenna and the tag. And my cat is here again. Let me get rid of him. Okay, so here is the slot antenna. We have chosen a slot structure because it's the same reason that we would choose for an implantable antenna. We would like to minimize the near field losses. We would like to choose a magnetic antenna in order to communicate with something inside the body. And the operating frequency is chosen according to the size of the tag that we are locating inside the body. So this antenna is optimized for 1.5 gigahertz using ANSYS HFSS. Okay, this is the tag design. As you can see in this tag, we are using magnesium for starters. That's because it's biodegradable and biocompatible, as I have already mentioned before. But the shape is more interesting here. It has two narrow bridges, and we are expecting the narrow bridges to degrade faster than the wider ones. And somehow we would like to control the actual degradation. And in order to see if it is working, we have located this bridged structure into different solutions with different acidity. And we have observed that more acidic solution breaks the tag faster than the neutral solution. That works for us because that's what we were proposing. We are saying that the acidity of the tissue is going to increase when the tissue is infected via bacterial activity. So we can assume that this degradation process is going to be faster if there is infection inside. For the simulation, this is a setup. So we have a petri dish size fat tissue, and on each side of this fat tissue, we have a tag. We have the tag, and on the other side, we have the reader antenna, as you can see. And of course, the measurement setup is parallel to that simulation setup. We have the final initial stage of the tag and the final stage of the tag. We have two petri dishes representing the initial and final state of biodegradation process, and we are using different thicknesses of cow's fat in order to see how deep we can locate this tag. That was the aim, to use different thicknesses of fat in our measurements. And if we have a look at the results, with simulations, we were expecting to see 137 megahertz of shift from the initial stage of the tag to the final stage of the tag. As the tag is biodegrading, we are seeing the reflection coefficient, the S11 of the reader antenna. So the reader antenna is located on one side of the petri dish, and we are checking what happens to the S11 of that antenna as the tag inside is degrading. And in measurements, we are seeing 169 megahertz shift. Although they are not really aligned, the measurements and simulations, we can easily say that the model was not an exact replica of the actual measurement setup, because the fat tissue was not homogeneous, so-called. You can actually see from the photos as well. And as we are increasing the thickness of that fat tissue, namely the implant depth to 0.5 centimeters, we can still track the degradation. We are experiencing 77 megahertz of shift in simulations and 38 megahertz of shift in measurement results. And we can still track for deeper cases as well. But finally, at 1 centimeters, we are losing. So we are 1 centimeter, not in simulations, but we are losing it in measurements. This is the edge that we can still track. So this shows us that if we can track this degradation process, and if we can map that into timing, then we can actually understand if there is infection inside or not. So in conclusion, what we have done here is that the degradation is conducted under different acidic conditions, and the initial and final forms of the implant has been observed. The speed of the degradation is mapped to acidity in order to relate it to infection. The reflection coefficient of the reader antenna is shown to change as it's shown onto the initial and final forms of the implantable tag. The shift in the resonance frequency is proven to be trackable up to 1 centimeters of implant depth inside fat tissue, and the prediction by the simulations gets worse as the implant depth increases. And in the future, a more effective passive tag will be designed to improve the tag. That's all for today, and if you have any questions, please do not hesitate to ask. You can send me an email. I'd like to say bye with my beautiful stray cat sitting on my lap and a turquoise Bosphorus. Have a nice, happy day, everybody. Bye.